Shy nurse greeted the millionaire's deaf mom with sign language, unaware her son, the millionaire CEO, was. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. The hospital was quiet that morning, the kind of quiet that only happens in the early hours before the rush of patients and visitors. The soft hum of the fluorescent lights above, the distant beeping of machines, and the rustle of papers from the nurse's station were the only sounds that filled the sterile air. Emma, a young nurse, stood near the door to room 509, nervously adjusting her scrubs. Today, she had been assigned to care for Mrs. Langston, a patient who had been in and out of the hospital for the past few weeks. What Emma didn't know, however, was that Mrs. Langston was more than just a regular patient. She was the mother of one of the wealthiest men in the country, a man whose name was whispered in the hallways of the most exclusive circles, Liam Langston. Emma had heard the name before, of course. Who hadn't? But to her, he was just another rich CEO, a figure she had no connection to. Her life, like so many others, revolved around getting by. She had bills to pay, student loans to manage, and dreams of someday becoming a nurse practitioner. Her mind was often consumed with thoughts of how to make ends meet, not about rubbing shoulders with millionaires. As Emma walked into the room, Mrs. Langston smiled at her, a gentle, welcoming smile that was tempered by the weariness of someone who had spent too many days in hospitals. The older woman was sitting up in bed, looking frail but dignified. Emma introduced herself and immediately noticed something that made her pause. Mrs. Langston wasn't speaking. Instead, she was communicating through sign language. Emma had learned a bit of sign language when she was in nursing school, but it had been years since she had used it. She felt a knot form in her stomach. What if she didn't remember? Enough to communicate? Mrs. Langston, noticing her hesitation, smiled and began slowly signing the words, "Thank you for coming today," followed by a small gesture that asked if Emma knew sign language. Emma nodded, feeling a wave of relief. This was something she could do. As she signed her responses, a feeling of warmth spread through her chest. It wasn't just the sense of doing something right. It was the connection, something real, something human. The exchange was simple, but it meant the world to Emma. She helped Mrs. Langston with her medication and checked her vitals, all while using sign language to keep the conversation flowing. Mrs. Langston seemed to appreciate Emma's effort, and as the minutes ticked by, the two women continued to converse through signs and gestures, each smile exchanged in the quiet room, bringing them closer together. Unbeknownst to Emma, her patient's son, Liam Langston, was watching from behind the glass window in the hallway, observing the entire interaction. He had been following his mother's progress, but something about the way this young nurse interacted with her caught his attention. He had seen many people interact with his mother, but there was something different about Emma, something genuine. Little did Emma know, the simple act of kindness she showed to Mrs. Langston was about to change her life forever. But Liam wasn't ready to reveal who he was just yet. Emma continued to visit Mrs. Langston every day for the next few days. The two women developed a quiet routine. Emma would arrive in the morning, check Mrs. Langston's vitals, adjust her medication, and spend the rest of the time chatting with her through sign language. Mrs. Langston was a patient listener, always smiling as Emma nervously signed her words. It became clear that Mrs. Langston enjoyed their conversations, her tired eyes lighting up every time Emma walked into the room. Emma's anxiety slowly faded as she got more comfortable, her skills with sign language improving each day. There was something oddly peaceful about those quiet moments. Emma had never felt so at ease with a patient before. The hospital was bustling with its usual chaos, but in the little room with Mrs. Langston, the world outside seemed to disappear. On the fourth day, after Emma had just finished helping Mrs. Langston with her lunch, a man entered the room. He was tall, wearing a sharp suit, and looked every bit the millionaire Emma had seen in the magazines. He walked with a confident, calm demeanor that immediately caught Emma's attention. His eyes met hers for just a moment, and a flicker of recognition passed through them. He was Liam Langston, the man she had heard of but never expected to meet. Mrs. Langston, noticing her son's arrival, greeted him with a smile and a few words in sign language. Liam responded with a nod, then turned to Emma. "Thank you for taking such good care of my mother," he said, his voice warm but guarded. Emma froze for a moment, unsure of how to respond. She had no idea who he was. She had just assumed he was another visitor, perhaps a relative. But now, seeing the way his mother interacted with him, it clicked. This man was not just anyone. He was Liam Langston, the CEO, the son of the woman she had been caring for all week. "You're welcome," Emma replied, her voice quiet. "She's a wonderful person. It's a pleasure to help." Liam's eyes softened as he looked at his mother, then back at Emma. "I appreciate you taking the time to get to know her," he said. There was something in his tone that hinted at a deeper connection, something that went beyond mere gratitude. Emma smiled nervously, not sure how to handle the situation. She had no idea that the man standing in front of her was one of the wealthiest and most influential people in the country. "It's no problem at all," she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "I just do what I can." For a brief moment, Liam said nothing. He just watched her, his gaze thoughtful. Then he spoke again, his voice quieter this time. "You know, I've been observing you," he said, his words lingering in the air. "You're not just here doing your job. You've made my mother feel seen. Not many people can do that." Emma felt her heart skip a beat. What was he trying to say? I'm doing my best," she replied, suddenly feeling very small in his presence. Liam studied her for a moment longer before nodding. "I can see that," he said, his voice gentle. "I'll make sure your efforts don't go unnoticed." As Liam turned to leave, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change everything. But she had no idea how. She returned to Mrs. Langston's side, trying to focus on the conversation, but her mind kept drifting back to Liam. Who was he really? And why did he seem so interested in her? The following days felt like a blur to Emma. She continued her routine with Mrs. Langston, and every day she walked into that quiet hospital room, she was reminded of the brief, almost surreal moment when she had met Liam Langston. Her thoughts kept drifting back to him. Why had he said those words to her? "You've made my mother feel seen." No one had ever said anything like that to her before. It was as if her work had finally meant something more than just completing tasks. It was about connection, about truly understanding another person, even without words. But still, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that Liam's interest in her wasn't just about his mother's care. There was something else there, something she couldn't quite figure out. One evening, after a particularly long shift, Emma was heading home when she received a message. It was from an unfamiliar number. She hesitated before opening it. "Emma, this is Liam Langston. I would like to invite you to dinner tomorrow evening. It's a small gesture to show my appreciation for the care you've given my mother. Please let me know if you're available." Her heart skipped a beat. A dinner invitation from Liam Langston? The CEO? The same man she had only exchanged a few words with? She read the message again, then again. It didn't make sense. Was this a professional gesture? Or was there something more to it? Emma stood there, phone in hand, feeling torn. She had never been one to mix her personal life with her work, and she had certainly never been invited to dinner by someone as powerful and influential as Liam. What would she wear? Should she go? The questions buzzed in her mind, but something inside her told her this wasn't just a business dinner. She decided to go. The next evening, she walked into the upscale restaurant, feeling out of place in her simple dress. The restaurant was dimly lit, with soft jazz music playing in the background. She saw Liam immediately, sitting at a table near the window, his sharp suit and confident posture standing out in the room. As she approached, he stood to greet her, his smile warm but also a little reserved. "Emma, thank you for coming," he said, his voice smooth and calm. She smiled nervously, not sure what to say. "Of course. Thank you for inviting me," she replied, her voice softer than usual. As they sat down, the waiter brought over menus, but neither of them seemed to be in a hurry to order. For a few moments, they just looked at each other in silence. Then Liam spoke. "I've been thinking a lot about our conversations, about how you've been caring for my mother, and how much she means to me." Emma nodded, unsure where this conversation was going. "She's been through a lot," Liam continued, "and it means more to me than you can imagine that you've made her feel comfortable here." His words struck a chord in Emma. She had never expected someone like him to acknowledge her in such a personal way. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It felt like he saw her, really saw her. "Thank you," Emma said, her voice a little stronger now. It's my job, but I do care about her. She's a wonderful person. Liam smiled, his eyes softening. I can tell. That's why I wanted to invite you here, to thank you properly. As they spoke more about Mrs. Langston, Emma couldn't help but feel a deeper connection to Liam. There was something about him, a vulnerability beneath the confident exterior, that made her feel at ease. But even as they talked, Emma couldn't shake the nagging thought in her mind. Why was he doing this? Was it just out of gratitude for his mother's care? Or was there something more? Just as she opened her mouth to ask him, Liam spoke again, this time his tone more serious. I'm not sure if you know this, but I've been watching you, Emma. Watching how you interact with people, how you care for those around you. His words caught her off guard, and she looked up at him, unsure of what to say. You don't just do your job. You go above and beyond. And that's something I don't see very often in this world. Emma felt a flush spread across her cheeks. She wasn't used to being praised like this, but there was something about the way Liam said it that made her feel more than just grateful. He made her feel valued. For the first time, she wondered if there was something more to this dinner than just appreciation for her work. The evening stretched on as Emma and Liam continued their conversation, the dim light of the restaurant flickering softly between them. Despite the initial tension, Emma was beginning to feel more comfortable. Liam's presence, though intimidating at first, now seemed less overwhelming, almost inviting. The conversation flowed effortlessly, and for once, Emma felt like she wasn't just a nurse or someone in the background. She felt seen. After a while, Liam's tone shifted, and Emma could feel the shift in the atmosphere around them. I know this is sudden, Liam began, his eyes locking with hers, but I wanted to ask you something. Emma looked at him, unsure of where this was going. What would you say, Liam paused, as if carefully considering his next words, if I offered you something more than just a dinner invitation? Her heart raced. What could he possibly mean? She tried to keep her voice steady as she asked, What do you mean? Liam leaned forward slightly, his gaze unwavering. I've been looking for someone to help me with a project, something I've been working on for a while. It's a charity initiative, something close to my heart. But I need someone who's genuine, someone who understands what it means to help people. Emma blinked, trying to process his words. Was he really offering her something? Was this just another moment of kindness or something more? I've seen the way you care for my mother, Emma, and I believe you have the heart for this. I want to offer you a chance to work with me on this project. Emma felt a wave of disbelief wash over her. She wasn't sure if she was hearing him correctly. Was Liam Langston, the CEO of a massive corporation, offering her, someone who had just been trying to get by, a chance to work with him? I'm not sure I understand, she stammered. You want me to work with you? On a charity project? Yes, Liam said, his voice calm. I believe you have something special to offer. You've already shown your dedication with my mother. I think you'd be great at this. Emma felt a mixture of excitement and fear. A part of her wanted to jump at the opportunity, but another part of her was hesitant. She wasn't sure if she was ready to take that leap, to step into a world so different from her own. But, I don't have the qualifications you might be looking for, Emma said, almost apologetically. I'm just a nurse. I don't have any business experience or anything like that. Liam smiled, and for the first time, it seemed more like a warm invitation than a corporate gesture. You'd be surprised at how much value someone with your perspective can bring. You see people, Emma. You know what it's like to care. And that's exactly what we need. His words struck something deep inside Emma, something she hadn't fully realized until now. She had spent so much time doubting herself, thinking she wasn't enough because she didn't fit into the mold of a corporate world. But maybe, just maybe, she had something to offer that couldn't be measured by a resume. She stared at him for a long moment, feeling the weight of his words. I don't know if I'm ready for something like that, she admitted, her voice soft. But I'm willing to try. For the project. For the people. Liam nodded, a look of understanding in his eyes. I'll support you every step of the way. You don't have to do it alone. The warmth in his voice, the sincerity behind his words, made her feel a sense of calm. Maybe this was the opportunity she had been waiting for, not just for her career, but for her life. Thank you, she said, her voice steady now. I'll do my best. Liam smiled, and there was something in his expression that made Emma feel like she had just made a decision that would change everything. And maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something much bigger than either of them could have expected. The next few weeks were a whirlwind for Emma. She found herself immersed in the new project with Liam, a charity initiative focused on improving healthcare access for underprivileged communities. Liam's vision was clear, and as she worked alongside him, Emma began to see a side of him that was far from the cold, corporate figure she had imagined. He was passionate about the cause, driven by something deeper than just profit or business. There were moments when Emma would catch him quietly watching the teamwork, a thoughtful expression on his face. It was as if he wasn't just building a business, but something that could truly make a difference. As Emma became more involved, she also found herself more and more drawn to Liam, not just as a colleague, but as a person. There was a kindness to him that she hadn't expected. He treated everyone with respect, from the volunteers to the top executives. It was a rare quality, and Emma couldn't help but admire it. One afternoon, after a long meeting, Emma was reviewing some documents in the conference room when Liam came in. He looked a little more serious than usual, his brow furrowed in thought. "Emma, can I talk to you for a moment?" he asked, his voice low. She nodded, wondering what was on his mind. "Of course, what's up?" "I've been thinking," he began, his eyes meeting hers, "about what we're doing here, about how we're changing lives. But there's something else I've been considering." Emma put the papers down, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Liam hesitated for a moment, his gaze drifting away before returning to her. "I don't think I ever properly thank you for everything you've done for my mother. I don't just mean as her nurse, but how you've made her feel. Like a person, not just a patient." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected this, especially in the middle of a work discussion. "I didn't do anything special," she said quietly. "She's a wonderful woman. She's just been through a lot." Liam stepped closer, his tone more earnest now. "You did more than just care for her. You listened to her. You saw her when everyone else just saw a patient. That's something not many people can do. It's something I can't ignore." Emma felt a flush rise in her cheeks. She had always done her job with care, but hearing Liam say it like that made her feel like her efforts had been recognized in a way she never expected. "Thank you," she said softly, unsure of what else to say. There was a long pause between them. Then, Liam spoke again, his voice quieter. "I've been thinking a lot about us, Emma. Not just about the project, but about you and me. The more time I spend with you, the more I realize I want you in my life, not just as a colleague, but maybe something more." Emma's heart raced, her mind spinning. She hadn't expected this. Liam Langston, the millionaire CEO, the man who had changed her life with one simple offer, was now standing in front of her, telling her he wanted more than just a working relationship. "Liam," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what to say. I'm not sure if I'm ready for something like that." He smiled, the warmth in his eyes undeniable. "I'm not asking for anything right now, Emma. I just wanted you to know. I want you to know that I care about you, and I value everything you bring to my life, both professionally and personally." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, Emma didn't know how to respond. She had never been in a position like this before. But as she looked into Liam's eyes, she realized she felt something too. Something she couldn't ignore. I think I feel the same," she whispered. Liam reached out, his hand gently brushing hers. "Take your time. No pressure. I just wanted to be honest with you." Emma nodded, her heart beating faster than before. She wasn't sure where this would lead, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like everything was falling into place. Maybe this wasn't just a new job, a new opportunity. Maybe this was the beginning of something much more than she had ever dreamed possible. In the days that followed, Emma found herself caught between two worlds, the one she had known and the new one that Liam was offering her. As they worked together on the charity project, she couldn't help but notice how much her feelings for him had grown. Every meeting, every conversation seemed to bring them closer, yet Emma still hesitated to fully acknowledge it. Her mind kept returning to their dinner, to the way Liam had expressed his feelings for her. It was all so new, and Emma wasn't sure how to navigate it. Her life had never been one for grand gestures or romance. She had always kept things simple, focused on work, on her goals. But with Liam, everything seemed different. One evening, as they were reviewing some paperwork in his office, Liam broke the silence. "I've been thinking about what you said the other day," he started, his voice calm but earnest. Emma looked up from the document she was reading, her heart skipping a beat. "What do you mean?" "About being ready," Liam continued, leaning back in his chair. "You said you weren't sure if you were ready for something like this." Emma's stomach fluttered. She had known this conversation was coming, but she hadn't expected it to be so soon. Liam, she paused, unsure of how to continue. He held up a hand, his gaze steady. I want you to know that there's no pressure, Emma. I just want to be honest with you. I care about you. More than I thought I would. Her breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected him to say that. The sincerity in his voice was undeniable. I care about you too, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam's eyes softened, and for a moment, everything else faded away. It was just the two of them in that moment, the weight of his words hanging between them. He stood up and walked over to her, his presence commanding yet gentle. I know this is all happening quickly, but I can't deny what I feel. Emma's heart raced as he took her hand in his. You've brought something into my life I didn't even know I was missing. I want you to be a part of it, Emma. I want you to be a part of my life. The words were simple, yet they felt like a promise, a commitment. Emma's mind swirled with uncertainty, but deep down, she knew there was something real here. Something worth taking a chance on. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. I've never done this before. I've always kept my distance, always been focused on what I thought I needed to do. Liam gently squeezed her hand. I get it. I do. But sometimes, the things that scare us are the things we need the most. Emma looked into his eyes, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she could take that leap. She had spent so many years keeping her walls up, protecting herself from getting hurt. But here, with Liam, it felt different. It felt safe. She nodded slowly. Okay, she said, her voice steady. I'll take the leap. Liam's smile was soft, but full of warmth. You won't regret it, he said, his voice full of conviction. Emma wasn't sure where this path would lead, but as Liam stepped closer, his presence grounding her, she realized that sometimes, taking a chance on something or someone could change everything. For the first time in a long time, Emma felt ready to embrace whatever came next. And with Liam by her side, she believed that anything was possible. The days that followed were filled with a mix of excitement and uncertainty for Emma. As she dove deeper into the charity project with Liam, their professional connection grew stronger, and so did their personal bond. Yet, despite the undeniable chemistry between them, Emma began to feel the weight of her own insecurities creeping in. She had always been independent, focused on her career and personal goals, and now, with Liam offering her a new life, she wasn't sure if she could navigate the space between love and ambition. One afternoon, after a long day of meetings, Emma sat alone in the office, reviewing some documents when Liam walked in. He was carrying a folder, but his eyes seemed to focus on her as he entered the room. You've been working hard, he said, setting the folder down on the desk. I've noticed. Emma looked up, offering a small smile, though her thoughts were elsewhere. There's a lot to do, she replied, but it's exciting. It's everything I've wanted to be a part of. I can see that, Liam said, his voice softening. But I also see how hard you're pushing yourself. I know you've been balancing a lot. This project, your personal life. It's not easy. Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She hadn't realized how much of her stress had been showing, but the more she thought about it, the more she knew he was right. She was struggling to find a balance. She wanted to prove herself, to show she could handle the opportunity Liam had given her, but it was starting to feel overwhelming. I'm not used to asking for help, Emma said quietly, her gaze drifting to the papers in front of her. And I don't know if I can do all of this on my own. Liam moved closer, his presence comforting in a way she hadn't expected. You don't have to do it alone, he said, his voice gentle yet firm. You don't have to prove anything. To me, Emma, you're already doing an incredible job. She met his eyes, and for a moment, everything else seemed to fade away. His words, simple and sincere, had a calming effect on her. It was the reassurance she needed, but hadn't known how to ask for. I've been so focused on proving myself, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. But I'm scared of failing. I don't want to let anyone down. Liam reached out, gently resting his hand on hers. You're not failing, Emma, he said softly. We all have moments of doubt. But I believe in you. And I'm here for you, both in the project and beyond. The sincerity in his words was undeniable, and for the first time in days, Emma felt a sense of peace wash over her. Maybe it wasn't just about work, or about the pressure she had put on herself to succeed. Maybe it was about trust, trusting Liam, trusting herself, and learning that she didn't have to do everything alone. "Thank you," Emma whispered, her voice barely audible. "I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that." Liam gave her a reassuring smile, his eyes full of warmth. "You're welcome. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, remember you don't have to carry it all on your shoulders. We're in this together." Emma nodded, feeling a weight lifted off her chest. In that moment, she realized that this wasn't just about the project they were working on. It was about the bond they had formed, the trust that had been established. It wasn't just Liam offering her a chance at a new career. It was Liam offering her something deeper, an understanding, a partnership, and maybe even a future together. She had come a long way from the self-doubt and fear that had once consumed her. As the days passed, Emma became more confident, not just in her work, but in herself. And with Liam by her side, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As Emma settled into the rhythm of the project with Liam, things began to take on a new level of complexity. Their connection was undeniable, and while the professional bond they had formed was strong, it was hard to ignore the tension that simmered between them. Every meeting, every late night spent working together brought them closer, but Emma couldn't help but feel that there was an unspoken question lingering between them. What was this really? As much as she tried to focus on the work, she couldn't escape the fact that her feelings for Liam were growing deeper by the day. She had never expected to find herself in a relationship like this, one where work and personal life were so intertwined. But there was something about Liam that made everything else seem less important. One evening, as they were wrapping up a long day of brainstorming and planning, Liam surprised Emma by asking if she would join him for dinner. It wasn't part of their usual routine, and something in his tone made it clear that it wasn't just a professional request. "I know it's late, but I thought we could grab something to eat," Liam said, his voice casual yet filled with an underlying meaning that Emma couldn't quite place. She hesitated for a moment, her mind racing. It had been a long day, and she had so many things to finish, but she knew this was different. "Sure," she said, giving in to the pull she had been feeling for weeks. "That sounds nice." They headed to a quiet, upscale restaurant nearby, away from the buzz of the office and the constant whirlwind of work. As they sat down at a corner table, the low hum of the restaurant seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them in their own little world. For the first time in a while, Emma felt at ease. No pressure, no work deadlines. Just the two of them, sitting across from each other, sharing a quiet meal. They talked about everything and nothing, their favorite foods, their childhood memories, even their hopes for the future. It was the most relaxed Emma had felt in weeks. As the evening went on, the conversation shifted to a more personal note. Liam leaned forward, his eyes locking with hers. "Emma," he said softly, "I've been thinking a lot about everything. About how much you've changed things for me, how much I value having you in my life." Emma's heart raced. She had known there was something more in the air between them, but hearing him say it out loud made her breath catch in her throat. "I don't know what I'm doing, Liam," she admitted, her voice low. "I didn't expect any of this. This connection. It's just so new. To me." Liam smiled, his gaze warm and reassuring. "I know," he said gently. "It's new to me too, but I can't deny that I feel something real here. Something that goes beyond work, beyond anything I've experienced in a long time." Emma looked down at her hands, the weight of his words sinking in. She wanted to say something, to let him know how she felt, but the words didn't seem to come. She had spent so many years building walls around herself, keeping her emotions in check. But with Liam, everything felt different. "Liam," she finally said, her voice trembling just a little. "I think I feel it too. I just don't know if I'm ready for all of this. For everything that comes with it." Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. His touch was warm, grounding her in the moment. "You don't have to be ready for everything all at once," he said softly. "We take it one step at a time. I'm not asking you to rush. I just want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." Emma's heart swelled at his words. She had never felt so seen, so understood. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she wasn't alone in the world. Like, maybe, just maybe, she could open herself up to something real. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I think I'm starting to believe that." As the night wore on, Emma felt a sense of calm wash over her. The uncertainty that had been gnawing at her seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence. She didn't know what the future held, But in that moment, she knew she was ready to take a chance. With Liam by her side, she felt like anything was possible. Weeks passed, and Emma found herself growing more comfortable with the changes in her life. The project with Liam continued to flourish, and as they worked side by side, their bond only deepened. They spent long hours in meetings, brainstorming sessions, and even casual dinners that turned into conversations that lasted until the early hours of the morning. What started as a professional relationship slowly blossomed into something more. Liam's actions spoke louder than words. He never rushed her, never pressured her into anything. He made her feel like she was enough, just as she was. It was in the small moments, like the way he always made sure she felt heard or how he went out of his way to include her in decisions, that made Emma feel truly appreciated. One night, after a successful fundraising event for the charity, they stood on the rooftop of the building, the city lights twinkling below them. The cool breeze felt refreshing after hours of mingling with guests. Liam turned to Emma, his eyes soft, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "You did amazing tonight," he said, his voice full of admiration. "I couldn't have done it without you." Emma chuckled, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "We did it together. This whole project, this whole journey, has been so much more than I ever expected." She paused, looking out over the city, taking in the view. "I've learned a lot about myself, Liam. About what I'm capable of." Liam stepped closer, his hand brushing against hers. "I'm proud of you," he said quietly. "But I'm even more proud to be here with you, seeing how far you've come." Emma's heart fluttered at his words. She had never thought she would be here, standing with him, feeling this way, after everything she had been through. She had spent so many years doubting herself, thinking she wasn't good enough. But now, with Liam, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. "You've helped me so much," she said softly, meeting his gaze. "I never thought I could feel this, at peace." Liam smiled, his eyes warm with something deeper than admiration. "I'm glad you're here, Emma. I never thought I'd find someone who challenges me, who makes me see the world differently. You've opened my eyes in ways I didn't expect." Emma's breath caught in her throat as she realized the weight of his words. She wasn't just a colleague to him anymore. She was something more. The connection between them had evolved into something real, something unspoken, but undeniable. The silence between them was comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. Finally, Liam took a deep breath and looked at her with a seriousness she had never seen before. "Emma," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "There's something I've been meaning to say, something I think you already know." Emma's heart raced as she looked up at him, her stomach fluttering with anticipation. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam took her hands in his touch gentle but firm. "I love you, Emma. I love everything about you. You've changed my life, and I can't imagine a future without you in it." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, Emma couldn't breathe. She had dreamed of hearing those words, but hearing them from Liam, the man who had become so much more than a mentor, felt like a dream. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at him, unable to find the right words. But she didn't need to. The look in her eyes said everything. Slowly, Emma nodded, her voice trembling. "I love you too, Liam. More than I ever thought possible." Liam's face broke into a smile, his eyes lighting up with joy. Without another word, he leaned in, his lips gently meeting hers in a kiss that was both tender and full of promise. As they pulled away, Liam rested his forehead against hers. "This is just the beginning," he said softly, his voice filled with hope and certainty. Emma smiled, her heart swelling with happiness. "I know," she whispered, "and I'm ready." As the night unfolded, Emma realized that everything she had gone through, every doubt, every fear, had led her to this moment. A moment of love, trust, and the beginning of a future she could now fully embrace. With Liam by her side, she knew that the possibilities were endless, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt truly at home.